is WCPO 9 News.
Thanks for joining us for WCPO 9 News. I'm Adrian Whitsett. Here's a look at some of today's top stories. An update about a shooting that injured a Covington police officer and another man after a traffic stop. Police say the officer is recovering at home with his family. Police are not releasing that officer's name nor the suspect's name right now. Kentucky State Police say a restaurant called 911 about 6:15 Monday night and said a man was waving a gun around and had just left in a vehicle. Covington police spotted it and stopped it on West 4th Street crossing into Newport. That's when police say the suspect shot at the officer and the officer fired back. The officer was hit in the arm. That suspect still in the hospital today but expected to recover. In Indiana, the state Senate passed a proposal that would limit the governor's emergency powers. This bill would allow lawmakers to return for an emergency session and consider legislative action to a statewide emergency. It would also give lawmakers more control over federal stimulus funds. Governor Eric Holcomb has not said whether he will veto this, and no word when it will reach the House either. Fifth Third Bank is facing a big new legal threat. A federal judge just granted class action status to a 9-year-old lawsuit. Fifth Third Bank is accused of misleading customers over the interest rate they paid for cash advances between paychecks. The bank says it clearly disclosed the fee, $1 for every $10 borrowed, with an annual percentage rate of 120%. This case could cost the bank more than $280 million. According to court filings, people enrolled in the Early Access Loan Program from August 2011 to 2013 can pursue damages. Fifth Third says borrowers were aware of the fees and cannot comment on the pending litigation. Sherry.
Adrian, we're warm in the 70s today, but windy with winds gusting into the 30 and 40 mile an hour range later tonight. We're going to see rain moving in tonight as well. We'll have some scattered showers through the overnight and pushing out during the late morning tomorrow, but temperatures will be taking a hit. We're going to only see about 50 degrees or so. Likely as those temperatures falling during the day, we may not even get there in the 40s. And for opening day with the Reds, we're going to be lucky to get to 40 degrees. With the wind still in play that day, it'll feel like it's in the 20s.
Guys, we're outside a caring place right off Mount Carmel Tobacco Road on the other side of the border here in Claremont County. And I can tell you that they have so many supplies for families right now that they are shouting from the rooftops for people to come. A caring place is a resource for moms and families to get assistance when they're facing a hardship or are just in a tight spot. They offer things like diapers, formula, maternity and kids clothes, cribs, car seats, strollers, and more. They're also able to do free pregnancy testing and ultrasounds. Assistant Director Polly Camry says that throughout the pandemic there has been a great need specifically for diapers and formula. But it's not just about giving things away. A caring place helps families learn to utilize resources available to them, like applying for WIC, food stamps, and Medicaid. They serve about 1,000 clients every year, and as a nonprofit, they're relying on donations from the community. And the generosity has been abundant this year. Leaders say that they are filled to the brim with goods, and they're eager to get it to those who need it.
We've been known to serve clients rather fast. Sometimes a waiting list for other centers that are like ourselves in the area, where if someone calls, they have to set up an appointment, and then it takes a long time to get the services actually need, and we're pretty much on the same day. We help parents and families where they are currently and help them grow. The idea is to put them in a position where they don't feel like they have to rely on us so much.
So if you could use a little assistance, all you have to do is call a caring place, and Shauna or Polly, they'll both be here at 10 o'clock to be able to help you out. For now, reporting in Claremont County, Allie Kramer, WCPO 9 News.
You might have heard about or personally experienced all the shipping delays this past holiday season. It was a major problem. But what if your package did arrive, but it was the wrong package? Unable to have a 50th birthday party during a pandemic, Tiffany Davidson was looking forward to this custom-baked cake sent from her mother in Mississippi to her Mainville home. Her Ring doorbell footage shows the UPS man arriving.
I'm like, oh, my cake is here. And so I run to the door and I see this tiny, tiny box.
But the tiny box had a label from her mom. Confused, Tiffany opened it.
It's a modem. It was one of those return items when people send items back to the company.
So she called her mom and learned she had sent the cake, but the labels were apparently switched.
She said, no, something has gone horribly wrong.
Turns out package mix-ups happen more than you'd think, according to online complaints. And the first thing you need to do is figure out whether it happened in transit with UPS or at the UPS store, because the stores are independently owned. Our calls to UPS got nowhere.
We don't verify if it's what you were supposed to receive.
We contacted the UPS store's corporate offices, where a spokeswoman promised to get to the bottom of the mix-up. But don't let this happen to you. When shipping a package, stay until the clerk affixes the label on the box, and be sure to write on the form what exactly you are shipping so someone's birthday isn't ruined. Bottom line, if you have a package mix-up, file a claim immediately and don't give up so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese. Good morning, Tri-State.
The trial for former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin continues today, with witnesses testifying about what they saw the day George Floyd died.
Was there any point in your video, whether it's 9 or 10 minutes, that Mr. Chauvin ever let up or got up off of the neck of Mr. Floyd that you saw?
No, if anything, he actually was kneeling harder. Looked like he was shoving his knee in his neck.
Chauvin faces murder and manslaughter charges. He's accused of causing George Floyd's death in May of 2020, which triggered worldwide protests and calls for justice for George Floyd. The World Health Organization believes the novel coronavirus, which causes COVID-19, probably spread to people through an animal. The WHO believes COVID-19 was only spreading among humans for a month or two before it was noticed in December 2019. 14 governments, including the US, the UK, Australia, Canada, Japan, Norway, and the Republic of Korea, have expressed concern with the WHO's report. They are calling for an independent, transparent, and accessible evaluation into the origins of COVID-19 in China.
There are steps from here that we believe should be taken. There's a second stage in this process that we believe be led by international and independent experts. They should have unfettered access to data. They should be able to ask questions of people who are on the ground.
The report from the World Health Organization also found that it's extremely unlikely that the virus was introduced into society through a laboratory incident. Additional Customs and Border Protection agents are being sent to the U.S.-Mexico border to provide support amid an influx in migrants. According to government data, Border Patrol agents encountered more than 100,000 migrants in February alone.
Going to summer camp is a rite of passage for many kids. Last year, COVID forced many camps to remain closed, but this year is shaping up to be different, as reservations at summer camps are already up. For 13-year-old Piper Warner, home is with her family. And then there's summer camp.
It's almost like your second home.
That second home is here at Apple Farm Arts Camp, a charter school that turns into an overnight stay arts camp in the summer. But last summer, during what would have been the camp's 60th year, COVID restrictions made it impossible to open. Piper's mom, Nicole Warner.
I mean, it was hard because, summer camp is part of who she is. I was pretty disappointed.
But this year...
So we just got a green light.
Corey Solomon is the executive director of the camp in southern New Jersey. She says while the governor gave summer camps the go-ahead, Apple Farms will only be operating at 50% capacity.
We've had a planning committee happening since last summer to figure out what do we need to do to ensure children could safely come here for our overnight camp experience.
According to the American Camp Association, across the country, only a handful of states so far are not allowing overnight summer camps this year. But in several other states, it's more complex and left up to each individual county to decide. Where summer camps are happening,
our phone is ringing off the hook.
Demand appears strong, not just from kids.
I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is great. I'm so excited for this.
But especially their parents.
I saw it come up and I was like, oh, summer camp, yes, you're going, click, 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 send.
And for the Warner family, a chance to return to something familiar.
My husband had been diagnosed with colon cancer last year, so on top of him being sick, she just lost this, and this was what she looked forward to. He's healthy again. He's great. But now knowing that she has this place to turn to this summer and reconnect with all the things she lost is really going to be amazing.
A summer experience that's waiting just around the corner. In Elmer, New Jersey, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
There's been a series of high-profile hate crimes aimed at Asian Americans around the country in recent weeks. Now a trained martial artist is offering lessons in self-defense to help potential victims gain more self-confidence.
They are scared, they want to be equipped, they want to learn self-defense.
From pushing an elderly person in the back in the Bay Area to a string of shootings at massage parlors in Metro Atlanta, attacks on Asian Americans across the country have Yune Mello more concerned for her safety.
With the recent events, it's very disheartening.
Despite the physical violence directed at her community, Mello refuses to live in fear.
My heart is for there be more unity and more self-confidence.
Now she's learning how to better protect herself by training in martial arts.
It could be something as simple as like an arm lock, or even hitting them in vulnerable parts of their body that can help save you and even save your life.
Katerina Buenviave is the founder of Kicks, a nonprofit teaching self-defense classes online for free.
In light of the recent events that have been happening with the Asian American community, we wanted to just open it up to just all community members through Zoom.
These workouts focus on the fundamentals of Taekwondo. And while Kicks does teach people how to fight for themselves, Buenviave says the best defense is actually avoiding conflict.
Instead of learning how to retaliate, we learn how to de-escalate situations to promote unity and peace and nonviolence.
For Mello, training with Kicks has helped her both physically and mentally.
It's not just about, punches and kicks, but also the mindset of self-confidence and being able to defend yourself if needed be.
9. And with more people now looking to learn self-defense, Kicks is adding more classes for all backgrounds.
Front leg roundhouse.
The least that I could do is just bring some sort of knowledge and skill and awareness and empower the different communities.
I'm Kai Beach reporting.
As the cannabis industry grows across the U.S., researchers are looking into the carbon footprint of the plant, but some farms, like the one here, are finding a way to remain environmentally friendly.
On the western slope of the Rocky Mountains sits a cannabis farm 8,200 feet in elevation. When there's still snow on the ground, you have to take a buggy up the muddy road to get there.
We're going to drive up this road, make a couple of corners, and you'll see the fence of the grow and the whole plantation, all that.
Awesome. The trek was maybe a bit muddier than we expected, but once you're at the top, you have mountain views and a whole lot of green. Pot Zero is owned by Rob Trotter and his wife.
The zero part of it is that we are zero carbon footprint. And that's kind of a big deal, I think, in the marijuana world these days, because folks are going to start to find out that the indoor growing and greenhouse growing is extremely energy consumptive.
Pot Zero is a once-a-year outside grow. Vegetative growth is 3 inches per day in the middle of summer because of the sun's high intensity at their elevation. But cannabis grown indoors is a whole other world.
You can control that indoor climate so well that you can really dictate the product.
Research on the environmental impact of cannabis grown indoors has been quite limited, but a new study led by graduate student Haley Summers is uncovering the carbon footprint of the rapidly growing cannabis industry in the U.S.
We found that generally your climate control systems, so your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, were the largest source of emissions, and then it was high-intensity grow lights, and then a material input of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is actually pumped into indoor facilities to increase photosynthetic rates, so to get your plants to grow bigger, faster, and just generate more product.
When mapping the regions with the highest greenhouse gas emissions, Haley says the Colorado Rockies and Midwest were more concentrated than coastal areas.
But the weather plays a big role because plants need a constant supply of fresh air, and that fresh air comes from the outside. So if you're in Colorado, for example, and it's cold, you have to treat that air to get it to be comfortable for the plant, and that takes a lot of energy.
But what if that energy came from a renewable source? This is called a hydroelectric turbine. Rob says it's been powering his farm since 1993.
It drops 170 feet from a quarter mile up above to here. So it's as if you're 170 feet down in the ocean right now. Your pressure at that point would be about 70 pounds of pressure.
He says the energy from the turbine is what powers all his lights and fans, 28 years for his home and 6 years for Pot Zero. Rob says he hopes other pot growers will follow his lead, especially considering they would save money in the process. With photojournalist Luis Ramirez, I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
The IRS says expect economic impact payments for those who don't normally file a tax return to be issued this week. Internal Revenue officials say the majority of those particular payments will be sent electronically. The IRS has begun reviewing and testing tons of millions of records to ensure eligibility and proper calculation of the payments. Some current and former college students are getting another financial break from President Joe Biden. The White House is keeping payment of educational loans on hold for more than 1 million borrowers. This pause does not apply to those who have not defaulted on their loans. Congressional Democrats have called on Biden to forgive $50,000 in federal student loan debt per borrower, but the president has been resistant to that action.
Hi there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. Looking for the rain around the tri-state as we continue into the early overnight. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s. For tomorrow, we start feeling that cold air behind the front moving through. Just 51. That's about a 20-degree drop from earlier today. As we head into tomorrow night, I'm looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. Consequently, we've got a freeze warning out for tomorrow night into Thursday morning from the National Weather Service. Plan now. As we head to Thursday and opening day, yikes, temperatures are going to be just frigid. I'm looking at upper 30s for the ball game, and then even colder as we head through the game itself under partly cloudy skies. Here's my 9-day forecast then. So it's 51 to 39. Temperatures turn around as we head to Friday afternoon and get warmer for the weekend. Another chance for rain as we head into the middle of next week.
Maybe you've had the Mondays before, but what about the Sunday scaries?
That's that really crazy, anxious feeling that you get on Sunday nights.
Dr. Maria Church, author of Love-Based Leadership, has a few tips on how to not only survive, but thrive in a fear-based workplace. Starting with reconnect with your why.
There's something that propelled you to fill out the application. Something was there that energized you to do the interview.
Ask yourself why you wanted that job in the first place and write down those reasons.
Then it makes it not just bearable, but can actually make it enjoyable.
Next, leverage your skills in other ways.
It just infuses this new, vibrant, exciting kind of energy into the work that they're doing.
If you're artistic, but you don't get to show it, ask if you can do something creative.
A lot of organizations are actually doing this very formally now by creating skills matrices.
Skill matrices keep track of employees' different skills that can be used elsewhere in the company.
So it really is like a win-win for the people that get to do something that they're really good at.
At number 3, if things are really getting to you, don't forget to take a break.
Over 50% of the U.S. workforce did not use all their vacation days.
And 10% of Americans don't even take any days off.
We're experiencing burnout, lack of productivity.
So use those days, whether it's the occasional 3-day weekend or a midweek break.
And when you're done with work, be done with work. Unplug.
Finally, be authentically you.
When we're not authentically you, that means that we are intentionally trying to be someone that someone else thinks we should be.
This can lead to resentment and burnout, so don't be scared to be you.
We want different ideas and different perspectives so that we can do our job better.
Learning how to leave the fear behind at work.
We're closing in on what's normally prom season for high school seniors, but for a second year, there's a lot of discussion over whether it's safe for proms to happen. Guidelines vary from school to school and from state to state. That means every district will have its own solution. For many, prom will be canceled once again.
Nothing is going to compare to a prom.
Across the country, some parents and students are pushing back by planning non-school sponsored events.
We are aware that there's a prom celebration that's being planned out in the community.
One parent in Arizona is concerned about these private gatherings.
I think it's reckless. I really do. I feel like we're not in a safe place still.
Other schools are working with students to find safer ways to celebrate, like in Jensen Beach, Florida.
As a group of officers, we've been proposing ideas that we think would get approved by the district.
The CDC has not issued an exact guidance for proms, but it encourages all large events to happen virtually or outdoors.